as a benevolent hush falls over the audience. Thank you. Find yourselves a seat. Come on in. Good afternoon to all of you. I'm Professor John Fantuzzo, and I'd like to welcome you to the Albert M. Greenfield Memorial Lecture. I want to welcome all of you who made it through this terrible rainy weather, so you get all kinds of extra badges. And also to our colleagues who are joining us live on the webcast. This lecture is provided to us by a special gift from the Greenfield Foundation in memory of Albert M. Greenfield. Mr. Greenfield was a great citizen of Philadelphia. He championed the rights of many groups of citizens who did not get an equal opportunity to succeed. I would like to acknowledge a member of the Greenfield family who's here with us today, and hopefully we'll be joined by some others and make it through the rain. Wendy Greenfield. Wendy, could you please stand? Thank you. We are so grateful for your generosity and really in terms of sustaining Mr. Greenfield's commitment to vulnerable citizens. I would also like to acknowledge our Dean of the Graduate School of Education, Dean Andy Porter. Could you stand? I'd like to acknowledge you. Thank you so much, Andy, for your support of all the work that we do at GSC. And where is Casey? Is Casey around, guys? Have we seen Casey? Calling Casey. Casey, come on in. This event is brought to you by Casey. Casey is our organizer, and I really want to thank her for all her hard work. So the emails you got and everything that you see is Casey related. So we want to thank you for this. Our title of our lecture is Lifting Little Hands, a national and local response to young children living in poverty. Today we are going to collectively focus on the needs and future of our youngest and most vulnerable group of citizens in the U.S., children 0 to 5 living in poverty. Before we meet the panel and dive in, I wanted to pause for a moment and address the question, John, why did you pick this topic and convene this event? Well, in thinking about it, I know it was not because I wanted to entertain you, although some people find me entertaining. And it wasn't because we wanted to impress you either, and I'm certain it wasn't that we wanted to draw you to some pretentious university intellectual exercise. I'm certain of that one. To be honest, I called you to this event because my heart is broken. It's broken over how we are treating our most vulnerable citizens. Fractured systems, faltering institutions, inadequate resources, all leaving fragile lives with few opportunities. To the question raised by the media, what's wrong? I think I have a picture of that. What's wrong with our children in the U.S. today? I hear the clear voice of Marian Wright Edelman, and I quote, "We, the adults, are what's wrong with our children. And I hope God will help us to repent, to open our eyes and ears and see and hear our children's cries for help and guidance, and then act to save them all now." She justly calls for an end of adult hypocrisy, neglect, and abandonment of our youngest and most vulnerable citizens. This saddens me for the part that I may play as an adult citizen in the U.S. But despair is pushed back by the power of faith, hope, and love. Faith that we can come together and plot a course to address the needs and future of these children. Hope that we can get there, and love a love for the children that can be translated into sustainable action that will make a difference. In my church, this is the place where the pastor would say, "Can I get a witness?" But I'll settle for a raised hand. Could you raise your hand if you share this faith, hope, and love with me today? And please look around and be encouraged. Thank you. Now we can dive in. We're here to understand and build on this faith, hope, and love. The purpose of our panel today is to make visible the national picture of young children living in poverty and consider the strategic responses at both a national, state, and local level. We are so fortunate to have an all-star panel, a wonderful group of experts. Each has made substantial contributions and has demonstrated their dedication to serving vulnerable children and youth. They're all faith, hope, and love colleagues. First, we will hear from Dr. Renee Wilson-Simmons. Dr. Wilson-Simmons is the director of the National Center of Children in Poverty. NCCP is one of the nation's leading public policy centers devoted to promoting well-being for children. Prior to directing NCCP, Renee managed large grant projects at the Annie Casey Foundation and conducted research in health promotion for youth in poverty at the Educational Development Center in Boston City Hospital. Renee will provide us with the latest national picture of young children in poverty, and hopefully you picked up the February edition of NCCP's report that Renee is going to highlight for us. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Sheila Smith, who is the Director of Early Childhood at NCCP. Sheila is an early childhood researcher with a special interest in strengthening early care and education for vulnerable young children and families. She has served as a research scientist at NYU's Child and Family Policy Center and as the Director of Research for the Foundation for Child Development. Sheila will direct us to a strategic national response. Donna Cooper will follow next, and Donna will give us a state and local policy perspective on a call to action. Donna is the Director of Public Citizens for Children and Youth, and if you're in Philadelphia, you know PCCY very well. It's one of the most dynamic forces for the welfare of children in the region and in the state. Donna has served as PA's Secretary for Policy and Planning and Deputy Mayor for Policy and Planning in Philadelphia. Finally, we will hear from Aisha Ray. Dr. Ray is the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the faculty at the Erickson Institute. The Erickson Institute is one of our finest training institutions of early childhood educators and scholars. A former Head Start teacher, which is near and dear to my heart, Dr. Ray is now a national scholar whose work guides our understanding of how to prepare early childhood educators and administrators to understand and respect children of diverse cultural, linguistic, and economic backgrounds. Aisha will call us to a more inclusive response to this social problem. After all our panelists have spoken, we'll have some time, hopefully, for some crosstalk among our panelists, and then a short time for some questions from the floor, but delightfully more time for informal conversation over refreshments.